concepts ever drawn on paper in terms of video games. Good bosses test the player's skill with the different attributes of the game or provide some sort of entertainment, be it in terms of the gameplay, story, or something else entirely. And usually, at least, when there are many boss battles in a video game, there's also bound to be a final boss, that final opponent standing in your way. Final bosses are, in concept, no different to normal boss battles, but usually they tend to stand out. So let's see what are my favorites. As always, same rules apply, and remember, this is only my opinion, blah blah blah. And I won't be sparing in terms of spoilers, so if you see a game you don't want to be spoiled for you, I suggest you skip that segment. Alright, let's get this started. This is what I consider to be the greatest finales. Adam, if you're watching, I thank you, because I absolutely love the Wonderful 101. Everything in this game just manages to amaze me. Be it the really good story, the awesome and engaging gameplay, the hilarious characters, phenomenal music, or the staggering visuals and effects. There are just so many things in this game that make me utter the words, holy and shit. And the final boss is one of those things. In the end of the game, rather predictably, the Wonderful 100 faces off against the supreme force of Gethjerk in space! The setup for the battle is awesome, as you get closer and closer to the Jerk Fortress in the distance. And well, let's just say that the leader of Gethjerk isn't exactly shy on his size. That's right. Leader of Gethjerk, Jurgingha, is not inside the fortress. He is the fortress. In the first phase of the fight, you need to attack Jurgingha's cores while avoiding some tentacles.
What? You thought I was going to make some kind of stupid joke? What kind of person do you think I am? On second thought, don't answer.
In the second phase, you need to attack Jurgingha's head directly, but this time he shoots lasers at you. While the first two phases are pretty darn good, it's in the third where they really crank up the awesome. Jurgingha pulls out a Wonder Mask of his own and starts using Unite morphs against you. This phase can get a little tricky at times, but you shouldn't have much of a problem if you know what you're doing. You thought that was the most awesome part? You haven't seen anything yet, son! After you've beaten Jurgingha, you need to escape from the fortress. However, he's still far from finished. He pulls transformers on you, and with the help of Platinum Robo, you're able to fight back. From there, you need to build up your units to break the barrier protecting him, and then assaulting him head on. Then, after performing some quick time events, you are presented with, that's right, yet another phase where you need to take on Jurgingha in close combat. And as his last resort, he uses a giant laser in an attempt to annihilate the Earth. After one button mashing later, you finally defeat him with the help of Unite Charged Laser. This battle may be long, but it does so many things right. The music, the atmosphere, even the quick time events. Not to mention the huge-ass Unite morphs, as well as the reveal of Gethjerk's true motivation of conquering the Earth, which I won't bother to tell you because it would only make this entry longer than it already is. And you know what's the craziest part? This is only number 15! Donald Duck Quark Attack. I've already mentioned at least a few times that I absolutely adore this game, and frankly, this game's bosses ain't too shabby. And the final boss, evil wizard Murloc, is no exception. This fight has been pretty much built up through the entire game, as Murloc was the one who kidnapped Daisy and set the events of the game in motion. In this battle, Murloc uses his magic amulet to turn into a dragon to attack you. First, he turns into a green dragon who attacks you with fireballs. You need to run away from Murloc and activate these electric switches in order to trap Murloc in his place. After that, you need to use a conveniently placed turret to attack his amulet. Do this 3 times and you win. Whenever you attack the amulet successfully, Murloc's dragon's color will change and he becomes more unpredictable. When he's yellow, he attacks you with fire pillars instead of just balls. And when he turns into a red dragon, he shoots you with both vertical and horizontal fire pillars. Also, the music, which is awesome by the way, changes slightly whenever Murloc changes forms, which is a really nice touch. Overall, while the fight with Murloc is very short and easy battle, especially for final boss standards, it's a very fun fight nonetheless, and it's a great conclusion to a very charming game, as well as a proof that magic must not always be defeated with magic.
Ha! Gotcha there, Uncle.
This next one requires a very simple introduction.
Hello again. Hit.
Hades!
Hit.
Hades!
Hit.
Hades!
Hit.
Hades! Excuse you. But anyway, now it's real!
And that's not even the half of the awesomeness you're going to find from the final battle of Kid Icarus Uprising. Hades is not only one of the most entertaining villains to be introduced in recent years, but he's also a joy to fight with. While the fight with Hades is very similar to every other air battle in Uprising, it has few twists here and there to keep me interested. First of all, you're controlling the Great Sacred Treasure, which is basically just Pit's little mech suit. Angels. The battle starts with you shooting Hades all over his body and then running away from him while he's trying to kill you with homing shots. After that, Hades tries to escape, but thanks to the Great Sacred Treasure, Pit is able to pursue him once more. In the void, you have to attack the multiple things trying to kill you on Hades' body, like Calluses firing homing shots and ace guns? I don't even. And all of this is a part of his glorious rainbow apocalypse.
I prefer to think of it as my devastation ensemble. I only wear it for very special occasions.
Just keep your mouth shut, could you, Hades?
Anyway, after the fight in the void, Hades tries to destroy the Great Sacred Treasure, but instead it changes its form and Pit is able to cut Hades in half. Gods. After that, yes, he's still alive, he reconstructs himself, creates an obvious weak point for himself, and ironically starts probably the hardest part of the fight, where he shoots blue shots that home in on you if you don't shoot them, and purple shots that home in on you if you shoot them, as well as windows of bullet helling. That's not a word, is it? As his last resort, Hades is able to destroy the Great Sacred Treasure, and just when he's about to finish Pit, you summon Medusa to hit Hades' head off, and one familiar-looking Hades, one dodging of shots, and one huge laser later, victory is achieved. This fight has it all. It's an entertaining fight which keeps you on your toes, especially on the higher intensities, all while listening to some of the most ridiculous and amazing dialogue in any video game. What can I say? Hades, you're the god. Actually, no. While this fight was good for what it was, I really didn't feel this fight was the most awesome final battle ever. Don't get me wrong, I still like this fight, but there are actually two final battles from the Zelda series that I prefer. And at number 12, we have the fight with Ganondorf from The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I don't know why this fight gets overlooked so much. Maybe it's because everyone just loves the fight in Ocarina of Time so much, but I digress. The fight with Ganondorf from Wind Waker is quite the ride. First, we have Puppet Ganon, who is quite frankly one of the creepiest bosses in the entire series. This boss has three forms: his normal puppet mode, his snake form, and his spider form. In order to do damage, you need to hit Ganon's weak spot, which is this blue orb, with a light arrow. In the first phase, you need to cut his strings with your boomerang and hit his weak spot. In the second phase, which is a spider, you need to avoid Puppet Ganon as he drops down from the ceiling. The method to dodge this attack is to use the water on the field to watch out his reflection. After you've dodged the attack, attack his weak spot again. In the final snake phase, you need to watch out for Ganon's fast attacks on the ground and wait for an opening to hit his weak spot. This phase can get pretty annoying because Ganon's fast attacks and movement makes the attacks hard to dodge and the weak spot hard to hit. Another thing that really ups the annoyance in the whole fight are those freaking bats. Who won't leave me alone? But the true reason why I chose this fight for this list is the final sword clash between Ganondorf and the Hero of Winds. And Ganondorf has two freaking swords! Okay, he had two in Ocarina of Time as well, but back then he was in the beast form, and seeing normal Ganondorf wielding two swords is badass to say the least. As for the fight itself, it delivers in every aspect. Well, almost. Ganon will block most of your attacks with his swords, so you won't be able to damage him normally. The only way to deal some actual freaking damage to him is to either waiting for Zelda to stun him with a light arrow, or finding an opening for a parry attack. However, don't be too reliant on Zelda, because in one part of the fight, Ganondorf knocks her down so she won't be able to fire arrows anymore. Now you need to find openings to use the parry attacks and finally finish him off in one of the most epic ways possible. Finally, this fight has some pretty intense atmosphere. I mean, you're fighting Ganondorf in a sunken palace on a field surrounded by water, while the whole place is filling with the said water. Also, the music is epic and threatening, just like Ganon's battle theme should be. Overall, while the Ganondorf battle isn't perfect, it's a bit on the easy side, and those freaking bats, it's still most definitely a battle to remember. Come this far, you've traveled through two worlds with one goal in mind: to bring an end to a conflict that has been going on for 2,000 years. And now, the only ones in your path are the King of Rize Maxia and a renegade spirit. They are your final opponents in Tales of Xillia. If you couldn't tell from my little intro there, I freaking love this fight. The fight with Gaius and Muse is essentially a fight between equals, a man and the spirit. Also, because there are two of them, they can link arts like you can. Not to mention, it's easily the most challenging battle in the game, even a bit on the cheap side sometimes, and you have to keep yourself on your toes if you want to survive. While this battle doesn't stand out from the other battles in the game gameplay-wise, there are many things that stand out in terms of, well, everything else. First of all, you start this fight with only Jude and Mila in your party. You might be thinking, why would the game give you such a disadvantage with only 2 party members?
Oh my dear viewer, you haven't seen anything yet.
As the fight progresses, your party members start coming back one by one. And it is the coolest thing ever! Why? because they enter the arena with their freaking mystic arts. You know, those super moves that deal incredible amounts of damage and look mind-blowingly awesome. Yeah, I think you can see where I'm getting at. Also, the fight is a great conclusion for the story, as it wraps it up quite nicely. And again, just like in the Ganondorf battle earlier, the atmosphere is through the roof. And the boss theme, Battle for a Future to Believe in, is my favorite final boss theme in the entire series. Overall, again, while the fight with Gaius and Yusei isn't perfect, it was still a great final battle, and I really hope Tails' final battles can be this good in the future. A list like this just wouldn't be complete without the final battle of this overlooked gem. The only problem with the final boss of Dark Chronicle is that it's a random final boss.
Except, it's not.
You see, Dark Element kinda comes out of nowhere, but it's explained pretty well how he was born. Dark Element was born when the main antagonist of the game, Emperor Griffin, was still known as Cyrus, lost his faith in humanity and started to think they should be wiped out. These dark thoughts of humans made him the Dark Ruler and gave birth to this dark power inside him. When Griffin is defeated, the darkness inside him starts to pour out and takes a physical form, that being the Dark Element. His goal is not much different to Griffin's, except that instead of wiping everything, including himself, he's going to make the human realm his paradise. In other words, a living hell. Oh, and he kills Cyrus pretty damn brutally. That's gotta hurt. After a little boss rush, you confront Dark Element on top of the Dream Spiral and the final battle begins. Dark Element has two main attacks, his 3-hit combo and dark arrows that can inflict poison and curse if you're not blocking. Speaking of which, the 3rd hit of his combo can deal an insane amount of damage to you even if you're blocking. That and he has a 1-hit kill. Yay! Needless to say, this boss can get pretty tricky, and you could even say it's pretty cheap compared to most other bosses. But on the other hand, you could say that it creates more strategy, as normal tactics like keeping close to the opponent and blocking isn't going to work. Which brings me to my favorite part about this fight, his color change. Throughout the battle, Dark Element changes his coloring from time to time. But it isn't for the cosmetics, mind you, because you have to be a specific character when he's certain color. Like when he's blue, only Max can deal damage to him, and when he's purple, only Monica can. This creates a great balance between the two playable characters, as you can't use one overpowered weapon or character to take out this boss, but you have to use them both. And I really like that, since it gives the feeling that both are actually fighting for their lives, rather than just one of them. And again, while this battle is far from perfect, I think I can safely say it's one of the better random final bosses out there. So, how do you top one of the craziest final battles in the history of video games and make it even more memorable? The battle I'm talking about is the final battle of Portal with GLaDOS, but you know what? The fight with Wheatley from the sequel succeeds to surpass that in every aspect. Not only was this moment built up ever since Wheatley betrayed you in the end of Chapter 5, but the fight itself succeeds to be basically everything we've come to expect from an idiot like Wheatley. The battle starts with Wheatley telling you that he's prepared by watching tapes of the first game's final boss, claiming that he won't do the same mistakes as GLaDOS did.
You know, that's really smart of you, actually. But Why didn't you take into account this portal gel right here? Fail weekly.
Anyway, after you break the portal gel pipe, you need to use the portals to direct the bombs Wheatley's throwing at you through his shields. After a bomb hits him, he'll be paralyzed for a while, and this is your chance to get a corrupted core from GLaDOS and attach it to Wheatley. Do this 3 times and the core corruption will be complete. Now the fight itself is really good. It tests your skills with the portals very well, and even with the gels you've used throughout the game. But the real reason why we all remember this fight is for the sheer amount of craziness it has. You have Wheatley shouting comments that, for the most part, don't make any sense whatsoever, and don't get me started on the cores. These guys are truly something special. They're so awesome, in fact, that I can't pick a favorite. Oh yeah, and you shoot the final portal to the moon and defy fucking everything. So yeah! Overall, Wheatley is one of the greatest final bosses I've ever faced. And along with the awesome ending, Turret Sing, and Once You Gone, this is the best way to end off an amazing game that is Portal 2. Which reminds me, the boss theme, 4-part plan, is freaking awesome! I would do a dramatic build-up for this segment, but since I already did that, let's just cut to the chase. Number 8 is Kessler. This battle is amazing. The duel between Cole and Kessler has been built up ever since you first met him, and he gave you all those weird visions. All ends where it started, at the same place where the devastating explosion from the ray sphere killed thousands. As the battle starts, Kessler starts to say weird things like he was worried that Cole might not make it through the blast and that he has been with Cole for his entire life? What? It gets even weirder during the fight itself, saying things about Cole's parents and other things related to him. It's like he knows too much. The fight itself is pretty straightforward. In the beginning of the fight, his main attacks consist of leaving grenades in your path, moving like an accelerate, and shooting giant electric blasts at you. When he does this, it tires him, giving you an opening to attack. When you have almost half of his health down, you're forced to lose a power struggle. After this, Zeke shows up, trying to save Cole, but Kessler blows him away. However, Cole stands up and the battle continues. Now Kessler has gained a few new attacks like dishing dirt at you, creating clones that give you a creepy image of Kessler when they touch you, as well as summoning grenade bots to help him. Taking him down is still pretty much the same though. Wait for him to tire down to deliver a lot of damage. After the battle ends with one of the most satisfying finishers in a video game, Kessler, almost dead, gives Cole one more vision. He sees all of Kessler's secrets, including that he's from the future, who traveled one-way trip back in time in an attempt to rewrite history and save the world from his nemesis, the Beast. But his sole link to the past was a picture where he married Trish with Zeke as his best man. At this moment, Cole realizes that he is Kessler, and he came back in time to make Cole strong and ruthless, so he wouldn't be tied down by emotions when the time came for him to face the Beast. After Kessler dies, Cole decides that he will be ready for the Beast when the time comes, setting events for Infamous 2. The fight with Kessler is a memorable final battle for all the right reasons. It has a great build-up, entertaining gameplay, and everything surrounding it is just mind-boggling, and it's without a doubt my favorite boss in the entire series.